Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 3, Summer School Chapter 3, which I've just finished watching. And this show once again has delivered yet another top-notch episode, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. And it appears that Season 2 has set up at least one of the main villains for the show, and that's the Shade. Now, for those of you who are familiar with that name, the Shade is a villain that's been around since his introduction back in 1942, and he's been one of the mainstays of the DC universe. And it's great to see him in live action in a much bigger role. And the Shade has a very unique look. He looks like something you would have seen in Victorian times. He's got a big black top hat. He wears this long black trench coat, he has a cane, and he definitely looks like someone you would have seen in the olden days in Victorian times. And I think that's what makes him such a unique villain, because he's not someone you would see in spandex or has a very colourful look. He just looks like an old-fashioned British gentleman, but at the same time he's incredibly dangerous and very, very smart. So to see him as one of the main villains for Stargirl Season 2 is a welcome addition, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be doing for this season. And also, as we know already, Cindy Berman has returned, and she has the Eclipso diamond, which is able to make people disappear and drain them of their soul. And she's on a mission. She's trying to put together a new incarnation of the Injustice Society or the Injustice Gang, depending on what version you're going with. So, as I've said in the last review, it looks like the show is setting up two main villains with two very different agendas and two very different kind of threats to the young JSA team. So this was a very enjoyable episode, and what more can you ask for, really? This show, even though it's only in its second season already, has continued to deliver each and every time. So with that all said, we are going to get straight into it. We are going to be talking about Episode 3, Summer School, Chapter 3. So this episode opens at Christmas time, 10 years ago, at the JSA headquarters, as we see Pat is working on his car stripe when Johnny Thunder drops by to visit him. The two of them have been left behind while the rest of the team goes to deal with the Injustice Society. Johnny is unhappy about being left behind and not considered a reliable team member. He says that in his hands the Thunderbolt is just a mess for the JSA to clean up. Soon, though, Wildcat shows up and lets them know that it's pretty bad and they need backup, but not Pat because he has a kid. Johnny heads off and says that when they get back, he'll have some eggnog with Pat. We then cut to the present. Mike is out doing his paper route when he's confronted by some bullies who beat him up for his money. At home, Courtney talks to Barbara and Pat about taking on the Shade, and Mike comes in, but no one notices that he's been beaten up. When he tries to get involved in the JSA work, Pat quickly shuts him out. Mike then gets a call about a new customer and ends up grabbing the pink pen to write down the information. He sadly wishes he were a superhero. The next day, Mike is on his route and starts noticing signs and things that all say "so cool" on them. Distracted, he crashes his bike and notices the newspaper is full of the words "so cool" as well. When he reads it out loud, out pops Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt reveals that the magic word to release him is pronounced "so cool," and now Mike wishes his Thunderbolt's command. Thus begins Mike's training on how it works. Mike wishes for water and gets drenched, so Thunderbolt explains that he has to be specific about his wishes, and it becomes clear that Thunderbolt is also a bit of a jokester. He also explains that one can't wish for the same thing twice, but he can't wish someone to die or bring someone back from the dead either, because those are the rules. As for Garage, Pat gathers the team to inform them about Richard Swift, aka the Shade, that he doesn't age and his power is the manipulation of shadows. However, Pat has no idea what the Shade wants in Blue Valley. He also tells Beth that the Shade killed Dr. Midnight, which makes her realise that he's the only JSA member for who they didn't get justice for. They need to deal with him, but there's not much of a plan to go with. As for the American Dream, Barbara is looking through storage for Zacharick's magician gear when Richard Swift shows up. She tells him that he's trespassing but asks him if there is anything in particular he's looking for. He more or less deflects but is soon drawn to the box Eclipso's black diamond, which was kept in. He asks if he can just take the empty box, but she says no. When she does, he menaces her and then disappears into the darkness. Now armed with thunderbolts, Mike goes out and finds the bullies messing with a Girl Scout and stealing her cookies. Mike wishes they would stop, and suddenly stop signs start dropping from the sky. Thunderbolt informs Mike that it won't stop until the bullies stop, so dozens of stop signs start raining down onto the street, causing the bullies to scatter. It also attracts the attention of Yolanda and Courtney, who go to investigate. Mike says he's the newest member of the JSA, and Thunderbolt introduces himself to everyone. As for Garage, Pat's upset about the situation, and the team wants to use Thunderbolt to help them find the Shade and also fix Chuck. But Pat says he's too unpredictable and tries to make Mike give up the pen. However, Thunderbolt keeps going back to Mike. Pat has Mike call him out so they can talk. Thunderbolt tells Pat that Johnny's last wish was that he'd find a new friend, and Pat wants to know why Mike. Turns out Mike feels completely and utterly alone, just as Thunderbolt does. Outside, Courtney goes to talk to Mike. She's reluctant to give him JSA membership, but he claims it is his destiny, so she agrees to let him try, and the team votes to let him be on the team. They think he and the Thunderbolts can find the Shade. The team starts to come up with a plan. They work together to formulate an extremely specific and detailed wish that they can use to locate the Shade, and the montage shows just how much effort and editing they put into it. Finally, they come up with a full whiteboard of a wish, and then Mike reads it aloud. The wish works, and they locate the Shade's location at the old Zarek house. The team is ready to roll, and Mike with them, but Pat benches him. The plan is simple. Yolanda and Rick are going to restrain the Shade until Courtney can use the stuff to subdue him. Beth is going to use an old tanning bed to contain him. It seems straightforward, and Barbara more or less approves it. Back at the garage, though, Mike isn't content to be sidelined. He starts coming up with another very specific wish. At the Zarek house, which is now a historic home, the team confronts the Shade, but right from the start, it doesn't exactly go to plan. We see that the Shade is already waiting for them with tea and invites him to sit down and join him. Beth confronts him for killing Dr. Midnight, but he tells her that she doesn't know what she's talking about. The team agree to sit down and talk. The Shade says he's not there to hurt anyone in Blue Valley, and he wasn't really friends with the Injustice Society. He just wants them to stay out of his way, and he'll leave when he's done. He also tells them it's best if they do not know why he's there. Before discussions can go any further, Mike arrives and has Thunderbolt attack, but the genie is soon overtaken by the Shade and Mike is knocked out. The JSA leaps in to defend him and are soon overwhelmed. The Shade tells him again to stay out of his way, and then he disappears into the shadows. After Mike reveals to Yolanda that he's not really a hero, turns out he's taken out of Icicle was just an accident. He hadn't planned to hit him with the truck, and as a result doesn't feel guilty about it because it really was just an accident. At home, Barbara and Pat talk to Courtney and Mike, and while Courtney tries to defend him, Mike is pretty down. He accidentally ends up wishing the pen into a better hands, and then the pen vanishes. Across town, Jakeem is playing computer games and being hassled by his sister for being a loser. Jakeem agrees, and suddenly the pink pen appears. Barbara and Pat talk about how Mike feels alone, and Barbara tells Pat what she found in Zarek's inventory, specifically about the box. She says the box contained a black diamond and she thinks it's a prop. Pat corrects her and says that the black diamond is something very, very bad. At the garage, Beth is trying to fix Chuck again. She opens up to Rick about the situation with her parents and that they're going to get a divorce. While they share moments with Rick being a supportive friend, Chuck suddenly and briefly comes to life with a warning that they're all in danger. Eclipso's here. At the top of the American Dream, the Shade looks out over the city while holding the empty box and says to himself he's going to kill all of them. And that's how we end episode 3 and my review. Overall, very enjoyable episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot. I like the scene where Shade invites all of the JSA to sit down and talk with him over a cup of tea. I thought that was classic villainy, in my opinion. And the idea of a magic pen granting wishes was very intriguing. I'd definitely like to see more of that. And also Mike feeling very left out because he's not a member of the JSA, is very emotional, and hopefully we'll see more of that story develop. And the Eclipso coming to light and Pat being aware of the danger that it could cause was very intriguing, and I'd definitely like to see more of that. But overall, I thought this was an excellent episode, and it definitely looks like Shade is going to be the main villain for Season 2, but we also got Cindy Burham is out there as well, so who knows what could happen with those two in the picture. So that's going to be it for me. I am going to wrap this up now. What did you think of Episode 3, Summer School Chapter 3? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on the Thunderbolts pen going around granting wishes for Mike? Do you think we'll see more of him? And also, do you think there's a possibility that Mike could actually become a member of the JSA full-time with his own codename and costume? And also, what plans does Shade have for the entire city? And also, where does Cindy Burham figure into all of this? And also, who do you think really killed Dr. Midnight? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Stargirl Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about Episode 4, which I am very much looking forward to talking about. Should be a good one, especially with the way this episode ended, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out. So until next time, take care everybody, and stay safe, and once again, thanks for listening.